Whenever someone mentions a mile-long or 2-kilometer-long track, one might think of some NASCAR ovals like Dover, maybe Phoenix or New Hampshire. But those tracks don't have 6 turns. And that's what we're fitting into today here at Brands Hatch. We're on the Indy layout, and we're putting SCCA Spec Racer Fords on the track, all of them, 30-plus cars, here for round 8 of the Weekend Warrior Series, again at Brand Hatch, and it is going to be some chaotic competition today. And we're glad you joined us on the Global Sim Racing channel. Calling to action here today on the track will be Ryan Walker, joining myself, Adam Young. We're up in the booth with Joe Peak, tabbed with director duties, and as always, we're using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. Last week, we talked to drivers who had very differing opinions on Brands Hatch. I watched some of the interviews, so I know that. So we're going to let you decide for yourself what to think of the racing here. To get a good idea of what it's like out there, let's head up to the GSRC Lap Guide.
Welcome to Brands Hatch. When popular British racing circuits get listed, this track just to the southeast of London often finds itself near the top. The extensive history of the venue has meant that many famous names in racing have ran laps here. But the stats make it sound deceptively simple, with the Grand Prix and Indy course having 9 and 6 turns respectively. Laps might be short, but they're also fast, and the corners are often a challenge to get right. As you'd expect, that means passing is quite difficult, with most drivers leaning towards sending one up the inside at Druids. You might occasionally see overtakes into the first corner, Paddock Hill Bend, but the blind apex and gigantic drop in elevation make that an errand for only the brave. Many of the corner names pay tribute to famous British drivers from the past decades, such as Hill, Surtees, Sterling, and Clark. In fact, the fame extends beyond the drivers, but to the cars as well, with this place seeing everything from Formula One to Formula Ford, touring cars, GT cars, motorcycles, and even rallycross. It's a gorgeously scenic venue where lush trees envelop the back half of the course, while the front half is mostly encapsulated inside a natural amphitheater. This makes it extremely popular with race fans who can see a majority of the circuit from many seating positions. With a great location near a major metropolitan hub, a spectator-friendly layout, and an experience that challenges drivers, you can see why this place remains abuzz with racing to this day.
All right, Brands Hatch, got a little bit more of what to expect right there on the lap guide, and what we've been watching here in practice today is telling us just how nuts it's going to be, especially once we turn all these cars loose. But hey, Ryan, you got a little bit more info on the track here. Go ahead and tell us about it.
Yeah, this fantastic Brands Hatch track. Located in Kent, England, and has an amazing 6 turns. Or not amazingly, not surprisingly I should say, considering how small this layout is. And the length of the track is 1.198 miles in length, or 1.928 kilometres, whatever way you prefer to look at it. And this track has been known to host the British Touring Car Championship and the Blancpain Series and the World Superbike Championship, and a whole range of other series as well. And the keys to this race around this small layout is going to be patience and keeping out of trouble, and also that bump in turn 1. If you take it wrong, it can spit you into the wall.
Or as I found out earlier, put you on your lid. I expect to see that maybe a time or two here for today. It's also interesting that this is a track that, even when you look at the track map and then you watch these guys drive, you're never actually going straight anywhere. So that's going to be fun to watch here for this afternoon. Very flowing Brands Hatch Indy layout. All right, hey, the Weekend Warrior Series brought to you by Sim Stickers. Whether it's button boxes, steering wheels, or keyboards, they've got you covered. And now, if you use the promo code GSRC10, that's GSRC10, when purchasing, you get 10% off of all orders for the whole season, and you can find out more at simstickers.co.uk. So definitely check those folks out and give them a hand for supporting the series. Hey, Ryan, why don't you go ahead and talk us through the points? I've only been able to watch a handful of broadcasts out there, and I know Gaspers is pretty much, he's been able to win quite a few of these things here, but he doesn't look like he's here today.
Yeah, he's at the moment he's not here today, but he's still leading the championship in the Spec 1 class rather. but he's not had it all his own way this season so far. Maurizio Naselli has been keeping him honest in second place, and Daniel Sadro is he's not always been up at the front, but he's been getting consistent results and finishing on the podium this season, and which is rewarding him with a top 3 position. Michael Dobek rounds out the top 4, with Jonathan Madden making his return to the series this season, rounding out the top 5.
All right, now we got the Spec 2 standings as well, where Erwin Rotkrans has been pretty much doing his best to run away with that a little bit. And we were talking about him before the show. He's actually just going to be a quick guy in general to watch out for here for this afternoon. Sitting third in qualifying right now is pretty high up there in the practice standings. Aaron Begley is another guy that we expect to usually do pretty well in the Spec 2 standings. Dominic Perot, Jim McGill, and Tom Pradwell are going to make out the top 5 there. Is what's going to be a very interesting day at Brands Hatch. And speaking of the day, go ahead and walk us through the race details, Ryan.
So details about the series today, for anyone that's tuning in for the first time. This is the 8th round of the 12-round season, and the setup as always is open, but you cannot change fuel, which is set to 35%. So yeah, with the fuel being limited, these drivers will have to make a mandatory pit stop, and the race length as always is 40 minutes, and the points are rationed out from 100 down to 25. And the incidence is minus 3 points for each 10 incidents. And finally, these drivers, as always, will get or are allowed to take a fast repair and get a new car. So if they make any mistakes, hit the wall, anything like that, they will get a free fast repair and a brand new car.
All right, so there you have it. There's the race details here for today, and we got about 8 minutes left in qualifying. Before we really start digging into qualifying and what's going on out there, I want to point out that out of all the drivers that have so far turned laps in qualifying, I've noticed that only 2 don't have any incidents at all. Everybody's pushing the limits, everybody's spinning out, everybody's hitting things. And Ryan, that brings up something that me, you, and Joe were talking about just before the broadcast. We were talking about how important the draft was going to be, but you brought up something else that was going to be very important here for today.
Yeah, like I mentioned at the start of the broadcast, I think patience is going to be the key, and just keeping out of trouble. And that notorious bump in turn 1 on the exit, if you take it wrong, it'll just spit you into the wall. And yeah, also traffic as well is going to be a factor because of how small this layout is. It's it's spread out at the moment qualifying, but in the race it's going to be a lot more bunched up. And yeah, if there's battles going on and traffic comes up, the back markers are going to have to be on their toes.
And the other part that we mentioned, of course, was the draft and how you might only be able to get a 10th or 2 out there. Well, for the poll right now, it looks like Jonathan Madden is sitting pretty with about a 0.3 of a second overall gap. Once you get back behind him from second place going all the way down through the rest of the top 20, that's a pretty tight field. It's just John Madden doing his best right now to try to run away with that poll.
Yeah, absolutely, and that was another thing I forgot to mention as well. Around Brands Hatch, and especially this layout that we're using today, yeah, the draft could be worth up to about 0.3 of a second, like Jonathan Madden's done at the moment. He's used that draft and slipstream to his advantage, and it seems to be paying off at the moment in qualifying.
Yeah, okay, and we talked about Rotkrans a little bit there when we were talking about the point standings and just how well of a season he's had, and also just how well he has qualified here so far today. Now, since we talked about him, he has been bumped down to 4th position. He was sitting in 3rd. He's on a quick lap right now, though, but that's going to be about 0.2 off his fastest here so far. But out of everybody out there, Ryan, I've noticed that Rotkrans actually seems to be one of the more stable guys. Do you think he's got a chance at the overall win here today?
Absolutely, and with David Gasper's not being around today, or at the moment anyway, I think Rotkrans, he's my pick for this race, and he could be a dark horse.
Well, there you have it. That's Ryan's dark horse pick for the day is Erwin Rotkrans, and I'm okay with that one. I think I'm going to go the same direction And we probably just put the commentator's curse on, but that's neither here nor there. We're watching Jeremy Jordan right now, and he's had a kind of a slower lap. I think he's setting himself up for a fast lap. He's got some traffic in front of him. As long as they don't slow him up, he's able to use that draft. He might be in for a good run here, currently sitting in 6th.
Yeah, Yerdy's one of those drivers that I've watched in the official series. He was in a couple of races I'd done in the official series during the weekend. He was really quick, so Yerdy, maybe another one of those drivers. He could be one to keep an eye on, and yeah, doing pretty well in qualifying at the moment. Currently sitting in 6th position.
All right, there's Madden still up there, 3/10 running around with Zorek right now. It's a very, very quick delay out here. He's already coming back up here toward the start-finish line. There is pit entry. That's another thing I've seen guys been practicing pit entry here for today, and some of them getting it right, some of them not so much. See if Zorek's able to improve on his time at all. No, 200ths slower than his previous best lap, but he's got another good run at it here. Ryan, I think you have a little bit more experience in the Spec Racer Fords than I do. Typically, when they qualify, what's going to be your fastest lap? First, second, third lap?
It's difficult to say. I think you might be quick around here, but qualifying, because everyone's so bunched up and it's an open qualifying, and everyone's trying to get slipstream off each other. It's you might not be able to do a quick lap or go as quick as you think you can go. So if you don't go quick in qualifying, you could make up for it in the race, maybe through a pit strategy.
And of course, that goes back to the pit entry we were talking about a few minutes ago. And by the way, just to give people an update, I mentioned a little while ago that only 2 drivers had not had any incidents at all in qualifying so far. Well, they've now had incidents. Nobody has been perfect in qualifying here so far today. So that's going to be an interesting thing when it comes down to this race here a little bit later on. Following Ed Doherty, he's coming around. He's actually on a good pace. Is he going to be able to set a better best time? He is by 0.2 of a second. So move Ed Doherty up just a little bit. Actually, that moves him up to 13th position.
Yeah, Ed Doherty, a decent driver sometimes, but he's not always had the luck this season. At times, last week at Spa, he was caught up in an unfortunate incident. And currently looking at Ian Haycock's coming across the line, but yeah, that looks to be a really slow lap. And just in front of him is Jim McGill. So yeah, I think Ian might have tried to get some slipstream, or might have made a mistake on his lap, as Michael Shaw's coming around the final corner to finish off his qualifying lap.
Here comes Michael Shaw. He is another guy that looks like he's on pace here to set a new personal best, and off by 0.2 of a second. So didn't have a good run there in the final few corners. Meanwhile, up front, Joe Madden, by the way, still sitting up there 0.3 of a second. Nobody's really been able to unseat him from the pole. Here's the Sally. That's another, I think, outlap for him. Orza right behind him. He's just getting started here. The Georgian, 15th position. Now on your screen, there's Adam Bradshaw. Bradshaw's he's been one of the cleaner guys in qualifying so far, only registering 4 incidents. It's not going to be a new fastest time for him, even with some of that draft in front of him. So he's just trying to get set up here, maybe for a flyer now, as long as he doesn't get hung up. Sweeping corners here, though. It can be very unsettling to these Spec Racer Fords, as I understand it there, Ryan.
Yeah, the Spec Racer Fords, it's one of those cars that it's not like a high downforce car or high downforce GT car, for example. You can't really throw these cars into the corners. You've kind of got to get the braking done in a straight line, and yeah, as soon as you're in the middle of the corner, you've got to get back on the powers and use some throttle to keep these cars stable.
So there you go. Here's Gorka Urdarate. Another guy that's on an outlap here, sitting in third so far. No, he'd like to try to move up. Another guy that'd like to try to get back up in the top 3 is on your screen. That's Erwin Rotkrans. He got bumped down just a little while ago. He's on the back half of his lap now, heading toward the front straightaway. It's just such a long corner. I mean, you go up there through Clark, and that's one place that seems like it'll be a little unsettling as the clock winds down on qualifying. Everybody that's completing laps, and I don't think Erwin got across the line enough time to complete another one, so he's going to go ahead and park it. He will, looks like, probably start the race in 4th unless somebody's able to get up there. Looking at Jason Stenny. He's on pace for an okay lap for him. By okay, I mean 4 seconds faster, but even that's even with a little bit of damage there. So that actually moved him up to 12th. So, all right, excuse me, that's Nick Sinkowski. That's up in 12th now. Claudio Ferrari, he's going to go ahead and park it. Kurt Nunez is now coming across the line. Down the front straightaway. Is he able to improve his time at all? He is by about 1/10 of a second. And it's still going to keep him down in 35th position. Antonio Reese, I don't think he's on a position here to be able to beat his time. Indeed, he's about 0.03 of a second slower. Bob Kern saying, I'm good. Chris Murakami, he's good too, it looks like. Anybody else out there? Sinkowski, I think he had already completed his time. So that's going to be it. So we're going to go ahead and set that grid here for you. And looking at who is out there and who is not, I think we're going to have 42 starters today. And on the pole of those 42 cars is going to be Jonathan Madden. Felix Simoes is going to be starting outside of him. Corco Iturrate in 3rd, followed by Erwin Rotkrans, your Spec 2 leader, and also 4th on the grid, and a dark horse favorite for both me and Ryan here today. Simon Mayer and Juran Zorek are going to make up row 3. Row 4 is going to go to Zaselli, and Hugh Haycock's row 5 is McLeod and Van Dormelen.
Starting on 11th is Miroslav Jurasek, alongside him, and 12th is Neil Sinkowski. Chris Marikami will start in 13th, and alongside him in 14th is Ed Doherty, with Gilmore Orza in 15th, and Adam Bradshaw will start in 16th. 17th is Michael Shaw, Daniel Sadro in 18th, which I'm quite surprised about. 19th is Bob Kerr, and rounded out at 20th is Samuel Dick.
This one, it might not be where you start. It might be the kind of luck that you have here. As Ian Haycock is going to start in 21st, Michael Dobek in 22nd, so that's going to be a row 11. Row 12 is going to go to Dominique Barreau, Antonio Reese alongside him, Jerry McAreevy in 25th. We've seen him have some good races over the years, but right now running at being back there in 25th. 26th, Paulo Brem. Aaron Bagley is going to be in 27th, Kenneth Batley in 28th, Tom Bradwell, 29th position. Uni Lynn is going to be in 30th.
31st is going to be Paul Jackson, with Jim McGill in 32nd. Brian Short will start in 33rd, with William Ferry in 34th. 35th will be Kurt Nunez, with Gary Walbot in 36th. Jeff Jacobson will start in 37th. Jeff Cantor starts in 38th. 39th will be Frank Rodosty. And starting in 40th with a lap time is Jason Stenny.
All right, and this is the tail end of the field here. You can ignore the last row. They're not here. Alex Simonek and Claudio Ferrari will make up the last row of the cars that are actually gridding out there here today as the Porsche pace car rolls away with Jonathan Madden and Felix Simoes in tow as the field will start to form up here in a little bit. Let's take a look at that weather out there. Air temperature 74 degrees. The sun is beaten down on this track surface here, so we're going to be raising that track temperature up to 93. Wind's not an issue. Humidity not an issue. Mostly cloudy skies. I'm hoping these guys will be able to get some clouds in there, but that track temperature at 93 there, Ryan, that's going to make things even more slippy and slidey.
Absolutely. These cars, in hot weather conditions or hot track temperatures, slide around a lot. So as the race goes on, and if that temperature starts rising, these tires are going to take an absolute beating.
There you go. As you can see, an idea now as the pace car begins to round Clark. It's going to go ahead and pull off. Jonathan Madden on the gas early. We are away here at Brands Hatch for the Weekend Warriors round 8. Green flag is officially out. Cars really already seen some fighting going down behind the leader. Simon Mayer is trying to hold off Naselli. Naselli, he's got the inside run. He's going to take that position. Looking up front, though, Felix Samos. He's the first one to put a wheel off there. He's able to get it back on track, but does fall back into back toward Rothgrens. That's your third position there. We have to keep it under control on the gravel. Surprisingly, and I mean this in a great way, it looks like most of the field has gotten through the first couple of corners without a major incident.
Yeah, I'm just looking through further back in the field as well. It looks like everyone's managed to survive so far, and as they come through the left and right into the final corner, everyone, like you mentioned, Adam, surprisingly, everyone's managed to keep it in one piece.
Yeah, second place right now, Gorka Iturrate. He had a little bit of trouble coming out of Clark onto the Brabham Straight, and that's going to give that position to Felix Samos. Can Samos have a better run through turn 1 than he had last time? He's able to keep it a little bit more pinned down to the inside, excuse me. Swings out. Yeah, no gravel that time around, although he had to stare at those tire tracks that he made the first lap. Oh, we got our first spin. That's going to be Zorek, and that's another car around. The 34 is around, 84 is around. The entire field's jamming up back there. It seems like there's going to be no more collateral damage, but that was Zorek trying to find the other cars involved there. The other one was Hugh Haycox. He's going to fall out of 7th position. Got it up on the GSRC replay machine now. And trying to see if there was any contact made or if the back end just, yeah, it looks like Haycox did come down on him here just a little bit. It doesn't take much there for any kind of contact to send you around.
Yeah, it just looks like under braking, everyone just kind of bunched up a little bit, and it caused a bottleneck effect. And yeah, Hugh Haycox just came across the nose of Yearney a little bit, and just maybe Yearney just didn't back out enough, or Hugh just came across his nose a little bit without realising he was still there.
Yeah, and of course, that 84 there, that was Miroslav Juracek, and he's just went ahead and decided to call it a day. He's done for the afternoon, even with the fast repair. So that's going to be our first retiree of today's event. Up front, Jonathan Madden still leading the way. In fact, he's doing his best to run away. He has almost a 2-second lead over top of Felix Samos, who Samos is going to be under trouble here from Gorka Iturrate. He wants that second position back, as he can be able to outturn him going into turn 1. Oh, a little bit of netcode contact. Felix Samos able to save the car. That was an amazing save in an SRF. You usually don't get that sideways. It's able to pull it back. You might lose the third spot here to Rothgrens. Oh, looks like he's going to be able to pull away from Rothgrens, even just barely. Is seeing a car around now on your screen. I want to say that was Antonio Reese. So another retiree here for today. He has decided to go ahead and call it. He spun out of 16th position.
Yeah, that was unfortunate for Antonio Reese, and yeah, just decided to hit the escape button, but back up at the front, we've got this battle for 4th position going on at the moment with Felix Samos and Erwin Rotkranz and Maurizio Naselli, and also Tim Van Dommelen.
Yeah, and of course more spins going on. Ian Haycox now, another one that's around in the back there. That's back past 30th position. Already starting to see the attrition level pick up here, but your front view has not been without incident, but they've been able to keep the car somewhat dent-free here so far. And actually, the one that's showing the most damage out of the entire front, I would say 10, is actually Jonathan Madden. I think he hit a curve or something a little too hard. He kind of tweaked that left front a little bit, but aerodynamics on that front, not as important here as they are at other places, are they, Ryan?
Not really. And also, like I mentioned before, that bump in turn 1, it might have been possible that Jonathan, his car might have hit the ground possibly, and it might have given some damage, as Erwin Rotkranz is trying to make a move up the inside of.
Kind of reminds me of the run up the hill going up there at Mosport. Sometimes you'll dig into the ground quite a bit. So look now at that battle that we were talking about. Rothgrens I think it's just had a bad entry to that corner as well. He might lose a few spots here as Nasali's going to get around. He's going to be able to fight back Nasali. Van Dormelen actually backed off. In fact, that was a smart move by Dan Dormelen now as he's going to get to the good position here on Nasali. He's going to be able to get around him before they hit the Cersei's.
Side by side, and Van Dormelen manages to get by Nasali and manages to pull the move off and just about outbreaks himself and runs into the car in front, or into the back of the car in front of him, but manages to keep the...
And of course, I gotta apologize. It's not Cersei's since we're not running the full layout. That's McLaren when they do that there. So different track configuration, different track corner names. Is Nasali doing his best to hold off Dormelen? You're getting a good view of it right there from Kowski's vehicle. Another thing that I noticed out there, Ryan, of course, before ever I do a broadcast, I always like to turn a few practice laps. And besides the fact that I put it on its lid 3 separate times completely by myself, one thing that I noticed is that the visors here get dirty very quickly. I imagine those guys are hitting the visor peel-off button quite a bit.
Yeah, and also just because it could be just cars going off the track and bringing gravel back onto the track and just stuff like that. And it's yeah, I noticed myself doing the same thing in the official races during the week. I was having to use that tear-off button quite a lot. As I'm watching in the background as well, Tim Van Dormelen's under attack from what looks like Neil Sitkowski.
Yeah. Sitkowski had a great run and unfortunately had to give up the ghost on it. So he comes right back, coming out of paddock and down to Druids here. You'd be able to complete that pass going through Druids. You gotta be careful though, not to battle too much there. Nasali Rothgren's going to be able to get away from him. One guy that's still racing away from him is Jonathan Madden. Your leader now has over a 4-second lead. I'd say right now, if Jonathan Madden could just keep it straight, the battle's going to be for second. We've got a car here. Looks like they're having a bit of a problem keeping it straight. That's the 43. Who's the 43? That's Alex Simonik. Got the replay now up on the GSRC replay machine and an idea of what happened here. Going through turn 1. Ryan, there's that bump you've been talking about.
Yeah, it just looks like he might have just ran a little bit too wide, and just I noticed that bump as well. If you run even over that green concrete and catch that bump, it'll unsettle you. And like we've seen just now with Alex, it just made him lose the car and hit the wall.
Yeah, and it's a very, very sudden whip around too, and that's those are nearly impossible to catch. I talked about it. I can take no credit for the phrase itself, even though some of my GSRC commentators want to give me credit and call it the hospital wobble, because you kind of wobble a little bit, then there's no catching the car and you're going to hit something very, very hard. It actually comes from old NASCAR broadcasts. That's where that comes from. So that's back when, of course, when they had hard walls and everything else everywhere, you hit something hard, you're probably going to be making a trip in an ambulance. Jonathan Madden, as we mentioned, keeps on leading. I'm noticing the top 5 here beyond him. Iterade going back to Rothgrens and Simoes. It keeps on wanting to have an accordion effect here, Ryan. It keeps on wanting to close up a little bit, spread out, close back up. And right now we're kind of in the spread out phase as far as Iterade trying to run away from Simoes.
Yeah, it seems to happen in this series quite a lot, or with this car. Yeah.
Contact! Zorak and Orza. Orza nails Zorak hard. Looks like Zorak was trying to catch the car, and Orza had nowhere to go. And you'll see it right here. All right, they're going to be coming up here. He's on the hammer. I think his tires are already dirty from the car putting stuff off in front of him. And no, he caught a little bit of curve. And between Alex Simonik just retiring, we'll see if Zorak tries to take his fast repair and get on out there. But he is currently taking that tow and is sitting in pit lane, no doubtedly fuming at that very, very slight mistake. It doesn't take much here.
Yeah, it's that corner. You can take some care, but it's kind of, you've got to get the line right and just perfect. But back up at the front. This battle for 4th position is still going on between Rotkrins and Naselli, and slowly catching these guys, Neil Sinkowski.
We almost had a replay of that with Vaguely just a minute ago, as he was able to save the car though, but that's still, oh man, that's it really looks like Graham Hill is going to be a problem here for maybe the rest of the day, as I'm noticing more and more guys having issues through there. That battle for 4th, though, as you mentioned, though, that continues to be one. Erwin Rotkrins in Nasali. We also now have Murakami and Ed Doherty. Ed Doherty's trying to come at Murakami here. Oh, Interade having a major issue. See if we can find out what happened to him here. We were looking at, he's just going to spin it off track. He's undoubtedly got some suspension damage. Graham Hill once again puts the wheel off. He tries to ride it out and finds the tires, Ryan.
Yeah, and also I forgot to mention that before, also with the updates that iRacing's released recently, that grass is a lot more slippy, so you can't really, not like before, you can't just keep it flat on the grass and get away with it. If you try and do that, especially around this track, and with that bump as well, on the corner these guys are coming through, if you take a run, it'll just bounce you, and unfortunately Utarate was a victim of that.
So that is your second place car essentially out of this any kind of contention here for today. That is unfortunate, as he is going to pull away from the pits. He is going to resume and try to get whatever positions he can, but he will not be in contention for a top 5 or even a top 20 here for this afternoon. So that also gives Jonathan Madden an over 6-second lead on Felix Simoes. Rotkrins moves up to 3rd, and Sally up to 4th. Van Dormelen up to 5th position. He's almost 9 seconds now, over 9 seconds back. So that changes things quite a bit at the top half of this field.
Absolutely, and Jonathan Madden, he can just he can't back off completely, but he can control the pace now and just maintain that gap, and just keep it clean. But this battle for 2nd is going on still between Simoes, Rotkrins, and Naselli, and Tim Van Dormelen and Neil Sinkowski and Tim Van Dormelen have fallen back from that battle a little bit.
Okay, right now, Stenley, hard charge of the race, up from 40th to 13th. He's just clicking them off one by one, and by the way, running better lap times than some of the guys right now in the top 5. So he's probably going to get quite a few more positions here before everything is said and done. Also, speaking of the top 5, Sinkowski really putting the pressure on Van Dormelen to try to get around him and get a spot in the top 5. He was almost alongside of him a minute ago going to Paddock Hill. It's kind of calmed down a little bit. That's a battle right there that can explode at any moment.
Absolutely, and these guys are pretty much on their own at the moment, and they're slowly closing that gap back down to Naselli and Rotkrins in front of them.
Yeah, good run with the draft. He is going to back out of it before Paddock. Oh, Van Dormelen puts a wheel off. I don't think it's going to slow him up enough to allow Sinkowski to get a run. Gotta hope that he has a good entry into Haywood's Hill. Getting up to Druids, or excuse me, now we're heading up to Graham Hill. I'm getting my corners mixed up already. My name is not Joe Peak, ladies and gentlemen. Sinkowski just right there. One little slip up of Van Dormelen's gonna be like that. But hey, let's move up just a little bit. You can see it right there at the top part of your screen. Rothgrens and Naselli also just as close between these two guys.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, just as we say that, we got to go back. Sinkowski, great run, coming down Brabham Hill, headed up Paddock Hill. He's going to complete that pass, slot Neil Sinkowski into the top 5 in that 5th position. Van Dormelen's going to try to get a run, maybe try to come back here. Not able to do anything, so I think that's going to be okay right there. I am noticing here that Felix Simoes right now running in second position. Can we get a lap comparison between him and Erwin Rotgrens the last few laps? I just feel like he's losing time to third and fourth position. Okay, so maybe it's just an optical illusion there for my part. He really lost time that one lap, but it's still pretty close. We'll keep an eye on that here over the next little bit, see if anything changes with that. And of course, Rotgrens right now has his hands full with Nisali. Is looking at Van Dormelen, he's going to slide off as they're trying to get around the lap traffic of Kearns, Batley, and that's allowing Simon Mayer to try to get up into that battle.
Yeah, absolutely. I was just about to say, Simon Mayer he's slowly closing down on these guys, and yeah, just in the background there, he's not too far away. So if any of these guys up in front of him slip up or do anything silly, he could pick up some positions and some. Yeah, picking up some positions around here is not always a bad thing, especially with the pit stops involved as well.
And speaking of those pit stops, I will tell you that we are getting ever closer to the halfway mark in this race. We're only a few minutes away. This is a 40-minute race here for today. You're watching round 8 of the 12 that encompass this weekend Warriors season in the SCCA Spec Racer Ford. Always great racing that these guys put on, and it's also one of those leagues that's just a great run league, and the guys that put on it are involved and want to help people out, and it welcomes a lot of different skill levels too. So it's another one of those ones that I kind of rank up there with absolute beginners, majors, Lionheart is some of my personal favorite leagues, PRL2 along with that. So that's my commentary there. My views don't necessarily reflect those of GSR, so you know how that deal goes. But watching the top 5 there really kind of close up as it looks like Nisali is going to have a good run here on Rotgrens. Rotgrens is going to let him have the position, but he's got to be careful because Sikowski and Van Dormelen have really got to the back of them. As Nisali is going to have to worry about Rotgrens coming right back on him as they head to Druids. Can Nisali hold him off on the outside? Can he not lose another position to Sikowski? Sikowski's going to have a good run, but he's not going to have a good position. He's going to shut that door. Rotgrens, though, he's going to put a wheel off. This is getting exciting, Ryan.
Oh, absolutely. This 2-car battle is turned into a 4-car battle, and Rotgrens run a little bit wide there, and yeah, these guys are starting to get feisty.
And of course, as we were talking about, you got to be careful because now you got Simon Mayer back there. He's still a couple of seconds off these guys. He still has 1 lap power between them, but with them fighting, he's really been able to start closing some of that gap. And then also you got to factor in that we've got a Stanley back there who's really been making up positions, leaps and bounds. First car that I've seen make a trip down pit road right at just before the halfway mark, that's Larry McLeod. So Larry McLeod is going to come in, I believe that was from 11th position, as he's making the first trip down pit road out of guys in the top 15. And watching now, I'm really wondering, if you're in Sikowski or Rotgren's point of view, would you consider maybe trying to come in a little bit early, Ryan, and maybe trying to get away from those guys and set some good laps?
Around this layout, I think it's not a bad thing to do. I think if you're one of these guys and you think you're losing time, or you think you can maybe try and overtake these guys during the pit stops, I think it's worth pitting early and maybe trying to do an undercut, because around this layout, short layout, it might work. And also, if any of these guys pit and the others are holding each other up there, you could gain time on them massively.
But of course, while these 4 have been battling, that has just allowed Samoes to continue to start to pull away, as Jeff Cantor has an incident right in front of the leaders. He is pulling away, but he's gonna go. That's gonna be a problem. Here's Cantor. That's Sikowski gets into the back of him, and he held it down low, but you kind of had a feeling that something was going to happen there. And now we're going to ride on board here with Nils Sikowski. And keep in mind, he's sitting a little bit lower than this camera angle. He makes a run in there. And I really can't tell, Ryan, did the back end try to come around over braking and just kind of slide him into canter, or if maybe he just kind of lost sight of him going on entry there. But either way, that hurts him more time-wise than I think anything else. We'll see what pit stops here are going to do for them.
I'm not sure. I think maybe Neo's maybe thought Jeff is going to try maybe stick to the left and maybe just let him through. But it looked like Neo's on the other hand might have just got caught out and just carried more speed than Jeff and just got caught out.
Jonathan Madden, your leader, is on pit road. So temporarily, that is going to move Felix Simoes to the lead of this race, with Naselli in second, Rotgrens in third, Van Dormelen fourth, and Sinkowski in fifth. But very quick pit stop, of course, Jonathan Madden already back onto the racetrack. He only slid back to about 7th position.
Yeah, that was a perfect pit stop for Jonathan. He managed to get in the pits and have a quick stop, and managed to he didn't actually lose too many places. What I'm quite surprised about. And yeah, he should easily regain lead when the other guys up at the front make their pit stops.
Is now Ian Haycox is on the back bumper of Nick Sinkowski, but Haycox is also a lap down. Looking at Uni Lin is coming back onto the racetrack. He'll be going a lap down here. And Sali, Felix Simoes, as though ever since that battle really started, he really stretched that out. Now 4.5 second lead.
Yeah, and these guys are still battling. For yeah, basically what's technically second place since they have to pit. But it's still really close at the moment. But I have to say, Adam, considering this layout is really small, I was expecting it to be a lot more mayhem. But so far in the race, it's been these guys have been driving sensibly.
Yeah, and I'm right up there with you. I honestly thought that we'd be seeing just some destroyed SRFs, and the guys have been great once this race started, and be able to try to calm those nerves. And it takes a lot of calming nerves to run around here. I've done a few races here in the past. Looking at Nick Sinkowski, I thought for a second there was going to have a big run on Van Dormelen. That didn't end up happening. But Ed Doherty, he's going to have to fight to hold off Jason Stenny. Stenny continuing his march. Started in 40th position. Now up to 9th. That's 1 spots. That's just, in a place like this, as tight as everything is, and that's without having, some sort of major 12-car pileup or something in front of him too. I mean, he's just been able to stay out of trouble, click off positions, and not have the aid of a major multi-car accident.
Yeah, that's unbelievable. But like you say, around here, and especially this layout, starting in 40th and being up in the top 10 is just absolutely unreal. But fair play to Jason. He's managed to gain loads of positions and having a good race at the moment. And yeah, definitely one of my drivers. If I had to pick a driver of the race.
Oh yeah, definitely here at this point. And if things go the right way for him, he still has an outside chance of trying to get up into the top 5 here for today. Especially if they keep on getting slowed up a little bit, as much as Naselli and Rotgrens have to try to make their way around Rodesty. And they did get slowed up a little bit with that happening. Felix Simoes getting slowed up a little bit with Kern there, and some other lap traffic. Dormelen, Sinkowski have not been able to shake Ian Haycox. Ian, of course, had to come in. He was involved in an earlier incident, had to come in for his fast repair. And so he's just as fast as those guys. But, oh, looking at Ratsasi. He's losing it right in front of, I believe that was Dormelen, Van Dormelen. He's going to try to get back on track here. Very, very patient on track. Of course, that's what you like to see. I mean, you can't always prevent the spins going off the track, but you can definitely control how you get back on the track, and he did it the right way there. And two guys, though, that have not been able to shake each other at all. Of course, right there on your screen, that's Nasali and Rothgrens. And they've swapped the position a few times here today, and might be gearing up to try to do it again. But this could be a really fun battle to watch once we get a little bit closer to the end of this thing, as we're rounding now down below 15 minutes left in the race here for today. I'm expecting a lot of the leaders to start making their way down pit road here any minute now.
Yep, as Chris Murakami's just made his pit stop as well, and that'll give Jonathan Madden another position, and Murakami pulls out from the pits, and he should be drawing round about P13, P14.
So Murakami being another one of the leaders to try to make a trip down, and here we go. Sinkowski has a great run on Van Dormelen. Dormelen goes into the defensive mode, and to be able to put a stop to that run, at least for now. Back to P16 here. A little while since we had a chance to talk about some of these guys back here. This is also watching some of these guys in front of them taking pit stops. So that's Dobrik, Emil Orza. Orza trying to recover from an incident earlier on.
And
go ahead.
I was just going to say, and just behind these guys as well is the flying Canadian Dominic Bureau, having a decent race at the moment after starting towards the back of the pack, and currently up there in 17th position at the moment, and as Orza locks up and runs a little bit wide, but manages to get the car turned back into the corner, and yeah, he's absolutely hassling Michael Dobek.
Let's take a look here. Sinkowski, we're wondering maybe if he was able to get the spot while we weren't looking. And indeed he did. There you go. Going down the front straightaway to Bradham. He had another great run on Van Dormelen. Van Dormelen could not defend that time, and just has to slot in between Sinkowski and Ian Haycock. Of course, these guys will all be making trips down pit road here before too long. As I believe, I do not see... We have had some stops here amongst our leaders. Dormelen coming back on Sinkowski. And Nasali's who I was thinking of. Nasali did come down pit road.
Sinkowski goes back up the inside of Van Dormelen, and yeah, this is a great battle between these two, and Ian Haycock I think he's doing the sporting thing of just sitting back there, and he doesn't want to do anything stupid and mess up his battle when he's a lap down. So I think he's just deciding just to hang back and just wait until these guys make a pit stop, and as I suppose he's into the pits as well.
So second place, well, who will turn into second place once everything cycles around, is now on pit road. As there goes Jonathan Madden, who will presumptively return to the lead once everything cycles through. It does move Rothgrens up into the lead, at least here for the moment. He did get credit for leading the last lap with Sinkowski in second and Van Dormelen in third, but we know it won't stay like that. And Simon Mayer, though, I've been trying to follow him a little bit, and he has indeed caught back up almost, with the exception of that bad turn right there. He is slowly still catching the group there of Van Dormelen and Sinkowski. It's a very slow process, but he is getting up there. When he's not taking the corner a little too wide.
Yeah, yeah. Simon Mayer, he's been having a great race so far, and currently in the top 10, and he's he's not closing on the cars in front of him really that quickly, but he's got Jonathan Madden catching up to him quickly, and yeah,
Yep.
as the leaders are into the pits as well.
Yeah, we got Rotgrens. Stenny has come in. Van Dormelen has come in. So everybody, I think, as far as it's in the top 5, except Mayer, has now come down pit road. Here is Nacelle. Where are they going to sort out? You know, Nacelli's only just in front of Sikowski. Rothgrens ended up not having a good stop or something. He's back there with Van Dormelen now. So these guys, that kind of shook things up a little bit. We'll have to see if they can get back together, but trading spots here in the battle, so that should put Nacelle and Sikowski being the two that are going to be fighting for third once everything finishes cycling out here. That is... I wonder what happened to Rothgrens there. I'm going to have to go back and look at that.
Yeah, that pit stop time from Rotgrens was really slow, and I don't know if he might have just overfueled, not overfueled, but maybe just put too much fuel in slightly and lost a couple of seconds to Sinkowski.
Yeah, and I don't see anything obvious other than he really had to jam on the brakes to make the pit entry. He didn't have to back up or anything like that, but he definitely lost time compared to those guys. So interesting there, but Irwin does have that problem. Sikowski, though, all over the back of Nacelle now. All right, so let's fall back a little bit. Emil Orza still on his recovery drive. He's having to navigate some muddy waters. You got Shaw there, right on his rear wing. Oh, hey, actually, we can go back up to the front real quick. Okay, Sikowski trying to make a move on Nacelle. That's not going to happen now. Okay, so he falls back in line. Sorry about that, Joe, but he thought he had a moment there where he was going to be able to try to sneak that position away from Nacelle with the lap car of Brem right there, but not to be just yet. He's going to have another good run here, heading down to Graham Hill. The Cooper Straight has been one place that we've seen a few guys try to make a move, but I don't think he's close enough here heading into McLaren, or Xerxes and then McLaren. How much is lagging back just a little bit there, especially in that last corner there going through Clark? How much does that help get a run down Bradley there, Ryan?
Yeah, it definitely helps. The way I take that corner is kind of, I prefer to take maybe a slow entry, or not slow entry, but kind of just try and maybe slow down a little bit and then carry speed on the way out and just try and get the best run possible. That last corner, I find you can take different lines. I find going maybe kind of wide in the middle of the corner to get a better exit seems to work around here. But different drivers use different lines, so what works for them. So it's interesting to see.
Yeah, that's different lines and all that. You're right. Definitely shape it up here. But Sikowski, he's I think if you told him a little while ago he was going to have a shot at the podium, he might have not believed you. But here he is. Just cannot get around Nacelle, who's defending. I think what he has to do, and Ryan, you can tell me if I'm wrong here, is really try to let Nacelle run that defensive line, but really try to pinch him off on corner entry. Don't let him run out. And I think that might be the only way, because Nacelle's going to continue to defend that.
Yeah, you're spot on. I think it's the only thing he can do, but I think Sinkowski could maybe try just pull into the inside, maybe try and intimidate Nacelle a little bit, just show he's there, but not try and make him move. Maybe just try and unsettle him and try and make him do something like run wide or carry too much speed into a corner. And if he does that, he could pounce at that time and pick up the position, as Sinkowski's got the run down the home straight.
Yeah, big power move here from Sikowski. He's going to have the preferred line going into one. He'd have to get around a little bit of that traffic. That was Paul Jackson exiting pit road there. It cannot hold the run on the exit, so that's going to give that position back to the Sally. This is the battle on the racetrack. You see there on the left of your screen, Simoes has almost a 10-second lead, well, 9-second lead rather, on these guys. And these guys are almost 20 seconds back behind Madden. So 1 and 2, pretty well determined at this point if they can stay out of trouble the remainder 5 minutes of this race. So we not only have this battle between Naselli and Sikowski, we can't lose track of Erwin Rodkrins and Tim Van Dormelen. That's going to be something here going down to the line. Looking for other ones as we go through the next little bit here. Ed Doherty and Orza, they're continuing to fight for 10th and 11th position. So we'll be watching this one here in the closing few minutes as well. Some points implications there. Here's Sikowski. Sikowski with another great run. We'll move ahead and zoom back up here to the front. And he's going to take that back away from Naselli. And by the way, Van Dormelen back behind these guys had to really shut the door hard on Rothgrens, but those positions remain the same, where these guys up here, they swapped them.
These guys are coming up to lap traffic as well. A couple of back markers. It looks like Jeff Jacobson and Jim McGill. So hopefully they don't have any issues and they can get by really quickly. As it looks like Tom Gradwell rather is in front of them as well, as they're trying to get by, but they don't want to do anything risky.
And Sikowski, that helped him get a good little distance. Not a lot, but a little bit here between him and Naselli. And a lot of that evaporates already by the end of the Brabham Straight. So here in these guys are getting ready to run into a tandem here that's running together between Jim McGill and Jeff Jacobson, and that is for position in front of these guys for 26th and 27th. So that'll be something to watch out for. And if they end up making it all the way up to the 24th position with Lin, that's going to be a hornet's nest, and that is what Felix Simoes. Actually, let's go up to Felix Simoes.
Oh,
Contact! Oh, no, good. That's Simoes. That's exactly what I was getting ready to talk about. Was that Simoes was in a hornet's nest. Sikowski is back on track. He is all tore up. He's going to lose a ton of spots. Oh, Naselli is tore up.
it all just started off with Jeb Jacobson trying to make a move on Jim McGill, and then mayhem ensued.
Yeah, that's a tough break for those guys. That was some of the chaos that we thought might happen at some point towards today, and unfortunately for Nils Sikowski and Maurizio Naselli, that happens right toward the end of the race. Is now the battle for the podium spot. It's going to fall back to Erwin Rothgrens and Tim Van Dormelen. Van Dormelen has had a good run down to Brabham a few times here. Looks like they're going to get at least 2 more laps. And that also, by the way, Van Dormelen got clipped there. That was a spinning car of Tom Gradwell. And Dormelen did catch some damage. I was just getting ready to say, Jason Steady has now moved his way up to 6th position, and that all happened right in front of him as well. We got to hope that Van Dormelen doesn't have any kind of suspension damage there in the right rear. Go up to the lead here. We have not talked about Jonathan Madden hardly at all here the last back half of this race because we haven't needed to. He's been able to pick his way through everything. He's been consistent. Now over almost an 11-second lead over top of Jonathan Madden. Of Felix Simoes. Jonathan Madden having a lead over Jonathan Madden. That's the most GSRC thing I think I've ever said. Man, Jonathan Madden's just had a whale of a race there. Van Dormelen now with an off track. And just watching some of these guys. Here's Dormelen. Is it just me, Ryan, or does that car not look steady when it was coming out of Clark already? It goes down Brabham, And I think he's going to hit that bump.
Yeah, it looks like he's coming into turn one, and it looks like he's got the entry right, but it just looks like just took up. Yeah, he just caught that bump ever so slightly, like, just the wrong way, and lost the position. But I have to agree with you. I think he might just have some suspension damage, and he's probably lost his composure as well a little bit.
All right, so we are on the final lap, we believe, here for Jonathan Madden, as he works his way up through Surtees in McLaren, going through Clark, up the Brabham Straight. Jonathan Madden could have come home with the win here at Brands Hatch on the Indy layout. Always exciting, and indeed it was today, with Madden coming home with the win. He's going to spin it out going into one, celebrating a little bit prematurely there. Going back, though, for second position, Felix Simone coming away. Oh, we got contact behind him. I believe this is for third. No, excuse me, for fourth. It's Stenny and Aselli. Stenny is going to be able to come away today, and he's going to give the position back. The gentleman thing to do. He gave the position back to Naselli. He's going to come home in fifth, with Naselli coming home in fourth. Rothgren gets that final podium position. A little bit of a hornet's nest behind him, with Van Dormelen coming home in sixth. Simon Mayer in seventh. Looking for other battles here coming down to the end of the race. It looks like everybody's going to come across, for the most part, single file. Ed Doherty getting tore up there toward the end of that thing somehow. And that is going to be everybody. Oh, the chaos waited to start a little bit there, Ryan, but when it kicked off in a big way. We come back here in a few minutes on GSRC. We're going to take a look at your final rundown, talk to a few of the drivers on the podium. We'll be right back. as I'm sitting here watching what traditionally happens at the end of one of these SRF races. They are having their weekly demolition derby. It's always fun to watch. And of course, we want to give a special thank you for everybody coming out here to watch this. This is the 8th round with Jonathan Madden coming away with the win of the SRF Weekend Warriors Series for this season. And of course, we also want to thank Sim Stickers for sponsoring the race here for today. Jonathan Madden, as I mentioned, coming away with the win. Felix Samos in second. Erwin Rothgrens in third. They're all here. They're all going to come talk to us in a little bit. Maurizio Naselli coming home in fourth. Jason Steady. What a drive from Jason Steady. He started this race in 40th position. He's going to work his way up to fifth. Tim Van Dormelen coming home in sixth after that late race contact. Simon Mayer in seventh. Nils Sinkowski, another victim of late race contact, in eighth. Chris Murakami, ninth. Jerry McAreevy somehow found his way up in the 10th position at the end of this race, up 15 spots there, right?
Emma Orzo will finish in 11th. 12th place is Adam Bradshaw. Daniel Dick finishes in 13th, with Gorka Iterati finishing in 14th. Daniel Sadro having a bit of an off day, finishes in 15th, with Michael Dolbeck in 16th. 17th is Larry McLeod. 18th is Ed Doherty. 19th is Ian Haycox. And rounding out the top 20 was Dominic Bureau.
Yeah, the rest of these guys finishing a lap down or more. With, of course, Michael Shaw. We saw Yunli Lee. Aaron Vaguely ended up having some problems. I'll just round it off here real quick for us, Ryan. With the 30th on back, see if we find some medals back there. We saw the contact with Jaron Zorek. He ended up finishing in 30-30. He did get back onto the track. Hugh Haycox had some contact earlier. So these guys back here are not having the best of days. But one guy that did have a great day was Jonathan Madden, and Ryan Walker's going to catch up with him.
Yeah, Jonathan, John Madden rather, taking a win in dominant fashion. And John, that looked like a Sunday drive, you could say.
Yeah, thank you, Ryan. The race itself was not too bad. Obviously, I didn't really have much fighting to do, but the increasing temperatures were really something that I think everybody was sort of struggling with. I think we started off at like 70 degrees Fahrenheit track temp and ended up at like 105 or something like that. And I just spent most of the race like trying not to drive the front tires off the car. But it was fun. It was a good race.
Yeah, that was about to bring me on to my next point as well with the track temperature. It was hot. Kind of high at the start of the race and the early stages. Did you have any plans just to take it easy, look after the tyres, and just not push too much? And maybe towards the end of the race, just maybe try pushing more and increasing that gap? Or was it just finish the race with having a big gap and just get to the finish?
Yeah, it was mostly just trying to make sure the tires stayed on, because I've run into troubles before. If I just push too hard, I just have no more front tires, and then it just turns into a bit of a nightmare. So I was just hanging on, keeping a pace. When I finally got the traffic, everybody was cool. I had no problems with anybody. I know some of the other guys weren't so lucky, but for me it was great. I just held on and kept driving.
Good stuff. And before we let you go, are you looking forward to next week's track?
I think so. I think it's Barcelona. I'm not entirely sure. I don't own it for iRacing yet, so I have to buy it. I'm familiar with it from all the other sims and whatnot, so it probably won't take too long to get used to. But yeah, I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be something different for me. So yeah, see you then.
Awesome. Well, thanks for joining us in the booth, John. And again, congratulations on the win. And we look forward to seeing you on track next time.
Thanks, Ryan. Take care.
As that was John Madden, the winner of today's race, joining us. And up next is second place finisher Felix Samos with Adam.
Yeah, Felix, great run out there here today, and you were able to pretty much run away with second position once things cleared up, especially after that first round of pit stops. The car seemed pretty stable.
Yes. I was prepared. I was really looking forward for this race. Although, as Jonathan also said, I was a bit caught off guard with the high temperatures. So in the first few laps, until I could adjust my driving style to the temperature, the car was really sliding a lot. I had a couple of code brown moments. You might not notice in the broadcast, but I almost lost control of the car. And then Gorka passed me. Yeah, it was hard to keep up with him. Then he had that misfortune of crashing. Then I inherited the second place, and then from there it was quite uneventful. The only thing was really keeping the car on the track and not wear the tires too much.
Of course, you bring up the track temperature. By the way, for folks at home, 93 degrees is what we started out with the track temperature. It got up to 104. So that continually changed. It got warmer throughout the race. And Felix, I have to say, you obviously handled it very well. You did all that. When things really started to get down toward the end of the race, though, and lap traffic started to become an issue, especially there at the end, you found yourself in a little bit of a hornet's nest as far as that traffic there. How was it?
Yeah, the going down Paddock Hill. I thought things could go really bad, but luckily, I braked and I managed to avoid the cars going off the track. Because other than that, I really don't have any complaints. People really behave. The back markers, yeah, and then I stretched as much as I could with my initial fuel before the stop. And when I saw a gaggle of back markers in front of me, then I decided to take my pit stop because the guys were fighting for position. So, and then in the end, all worked out very well for me. I had no complaints.
Of course, we went from this track, which was really only just over a mile in length, and now next week we're going out to Barcelona. It's going to be something completely different. How are you looking out there?
Yeah, I don't. Yeah, I know Barcelona, the track really, really well. I don't remember if I ever drove the spec racer there. Yeah, I think it's I think that this car matches this kind of tracks better than Barcelona. It's because of the toe on the main straight. Let's see how it goes.
All right. Well, hey, appreciate you stopping by, Felix, and great job today. Good luck next week.
Okay, thank you. Good job, you guys too.
All right, so that was Felix Simones there, coming home in second for today. And Ryan, we're going to let you catch up with Erwin Rothgrens. Erwin had a fantastic run.
Yeah, absolutely. I believe taking the win in the Spec 2 class and finishing on the overall podium. Erwin, it looked like you were having fun out there, and you didn't get that podium finish easily. And from what we've seen, there was a bit of mayhem towards the end of the race with some back markers.
Yeah, hi Ryan, hi guys. Yeah, it was kind of chaotic race, but everybody was really helpful, and I had a bit of luck to go through it all. Had a bit of a fight with Maurizio a couple of laps, and then Tim was pushing me in the end also. So it was a hard fight for the podium, yeah. But I'm really happy.
And what did you think of the layout around Brands Hats, with it being the Indy layout and not the full layout? Did you think it was good, or would you prefer to go back to the full layout?
Yeah, I would for sure prefer the full layout. When I first, it was for me a new track, so when I first started it, I was thinking, oh my god, this is going to be mayhem. It's like a hula hoop, But now it was actually quite fun, so yeah.
Good stuff. And look, going into Barcelona next week, are you looking forward to it? Is it a track you've raced a lot, or how do you think if you've never raced it before, how do you think you'll do next week?
Yeah, I sure look forward to Barcelona. I never did it in the spec races, so that's going to be new for me. Let's see.
Good stuff. Well, congratulations again on the podium finish and Spec 2 win, everyone. And we look forward to seeing you on track next week.
Yeah, thank you very much. Cheers, guys.
And that there was Erwin Rothgrens, who, solid lead in Spec 2 standings. Of course, going to continue that on with that podium finish here today. And we got to bring in Jason Stenney, who we were trying to watch as much as we could with the incredible run from 40th, ended up getting up to 5th position, and only second race of the season. Jason, incredible run. Tell us about it.
Hey, thanks, man. I appreciate it. Yeah, we started pretty much stone dead last. Had to work our way up through the field, and it was a really fun race. Had a lot of good battling, a lot of clean racing as per usual with this series every weekend. I try to make as many as I can, but obviously time gets in the way. So
Yeah, we know how that goes. Time is the enemy a lot of times. But you didn't have you had a good race there at Sears Point. You didn't have perfect race, but today, I mean, a few things would have gone your way. You could have ended up a few spots higher. And you got to think though that next week is a completely different track than both what Sears Point was and what Brands Hatch was. You're going to head up to Barcelona, and what are you thinking about out there? Are you going to be able to make the race?
yeah, absolutely. I'm gonna try. Obviously, it's gonna be a little rough. I'm doing the Porsche Esports Sprint Series, whatever it may be called, on Saturday, but that should be some good track knowledge and practice for Sunday. Looking forward to it a bunch. This car is always amazingly fun. Always recommend the series to anyone else who's thinking about trying it out.
All right. Well, Jason, hey, appreciate you stopping by real quick to join us. Good run today. Good luck next week.
Thank you.
And that was your fourth place finisher. We just had to talk to him just because of the incredible run that he had here throughout the race today. So with that, we'll close out the show. And of course, I want to thank everybody out there for watching us here for today. And once again, that was round 8 of the Weekend Warrior Series. Fantastic series that we're glad to have here on GSRC. Again, thank you to today's sponsor, that's simstickers.co.uk. Additional thanks to all the amazing companies that provide the software and hardware that we use to create a GSRC broadcast for you. And of course, want to thank the very talented June Lalonde for the music for all of GSRC's broadcasts. You can see the screen there for how to get a hold of each of them. Thank you to the crew in the booth, Ryan, Joe, Dougie. Don't forget to check out GSRC on, of course, all the social media platforms and the website, globalsimracingchannel.com, Twitter's at GSR Channel, Facebook at Global Sim Racing Channel, and of course, Instagram, GSRC_Graham. And of course, YouTube channel. Hit the subscribe button there. Make sure you join us for tonight. I believe the PRL NASCAR guys are going to be out at the Dover Monster Mile. And of course, these guys that you just watched will be back next week for round 9. That's going to be at Barcelona, Spain. With all that said, thanks again for joining us here on GSRC. Until next time, race clean, race hard, and we'll see you on the track.